It's been 40 days since the last case of community transmission, 22 days since that person finished their self-isolation.
New Zealand has lifted all domestic COVID-19 restrictions with immediate effect, with the country declared COVID-free after the last patient was discharged on June 8th. But Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has retained stringent border controls as of now to avoid a second wave. As a line of defense, entrants in the country will be required to go into quarantine. WHO has praised her government's approach in tackling the pandemic. On March 25th, Ardern announced a month-long lockdown for 50 lakh New Zealanders after around 200 confirmed coronavirus cases were reported. Overall, there were 1,500 reported cases of COVID-19 with 22 deaths linked to the infection in New Zealand. One of the reasons for the success in eliminating the virus has to do with massive reduction in physical movements of the New Zealand residents as per the data by Google. As the restrictions have been eased, the government is said to believe in an ongoing effort and will remain prepared until a vaccine is ready. New Zealand is now part of a small group of countries including Fiji, Seychelles, Papua New Guinea, Montenegro to have stamped out the virus. Here's what New Zealand did right. The country reportedly ordered mandatory quarantine for visitors from March 15th when the country had 8 confirmed cases. On March 19th, New Zealand closed its borders to inbound travel, allowing only returning New Zealanders and some essential health workers. The country then entered the Level 3 lockdown on March 23rd, shutting down non-essential businesses and gatherings. The Kiwi government called it the Go Hard, Go Early lockdown strategy. 48 hours later, the country only allowed essential services like grocery stores, pharmacies and hospitals during the Level 4 lockdown with domestic travel restrictions in place. On April 27th, with the falling trajectory of infections, the country started easing its restrictions back to Level 3. Some models projected that New Zealand could have had more than 1,000 cases a day if shutdown measures had been delayed. Some experts also suggest that the isolated location of New Zealand in the South Pacific gave the country time to analyze the severity and spread of the virus apart from an early and strict lockdown. Let's look at the population factor. Few of the worst affected nations like Italy, Spain and the UK have populations more than 10 times that of New Zealand. The Republic of Ireland, though, has a population similar to that of New Zealand, but over 25,000 reported cases and around 1,700 deaths. New Zealand has a relatively low population density at around 18 people per square kilometre compared to India's 455 per square kilometre as per the World Bank data. The New Zealand government also did a commendable job in ramping up testing before the virus could hit hard in the country. According to Ardern, New Zealand has one of the highest testing rates per capita in the world. A poll conducted on April 20 to 21st by Colma Brundon suggested 87% of New Zealanders approved with the government's response measures to counter the coronavirus, while only 8% disapproved. This was also seen in the way the government communicated with the citizens before entering a lockdown. Christine Nam, a 31-year-old from capital city Wellington, told CNBC all communication from the government had been clear, concise and based on scientific facts. Emergency text messages were sent to the residents with a clear explanation about the lockdown. This message is for all of New Zealand. We are depending on you. Where you stay tonight is where you stay from now on. It is likely that Level 4 measures will stay in place for several weeks, is what the message read. Globally, many governments have been criticized for not conveying the lockdown guidelines clearly or for an unplanned lockdown. The country is also being applauded for the response to the economic downturn, a country heavily impacted by dismissed tourism, after all government ministers, including the Prime Minister and public service chiefs, took a 20% pay cut. New Zealand's parliament also passed a tax reform package to refund around $1.8 billion to small businesses.